shadowing the hot start Joe Burrow had before he went out for the season with a knee injury. So, Mike, will Herbert have a better career than Joe Burrow?
Yeah, I think Herbert will, man. The ultimate dual threat. He got the big-time arm. He can run with the football. It's nothing that this kid hasn't shown us that he can't do behind the center. And while he'll have more starts by the time Joe Burrow comes back, I think he'll have 30-plus starts because we don't know when Joe is going to return. And hopefully, you know, he gets himself back into full health and full form and come back ready to compete. But by the time he come back, he's only going to have 10 starts under his belt, and Justin Herbert to have about 30. So that's learning on the job. I thought he stepped in this year and did a tremendous job for his team. A lot of close games, some games that they should have won. But, you know, for him to kind of put it all together and show that he have a complete understanding of the offense and what needs to be done, you know, I like what this team can do moving forward. Anthony Lynn is a great play caller. I think he's a great coach. He understands the run game. Been around Greg Norman for years, you know, when he was in Buffalo. So I think the right personnel, once again, a situation like Tua, you know, you put the right pieces around him, you know, he can grow. And he has the arm to do it. Keenan Allen and a bunch of other guys that he can distribute the ball to, add some free agents, add some guys in the offseason, and you got a quarterback with some weapons and can compete. So I like what LA is doing with him. I like the pick. They got to be happy about it. The biggest thing in the National Football League is finding a quarterback. And when you got a rookie that's played well and you can look 10 years from now and say, this is going to be our guy, you got to feel fortunate.
You know, I'm not so sure that he's going to have a better career than Joe Burrow. I like T. Higgins. He's actually one of those bright spots in Cincinnati at the receiver's position where you could see that connection forming before the injury took place. Yeah. That Cincinnati Bengals team is a team that's actually trending up if you take a good hard look at personnel-wise what they've been able to put together. You know, you look at the rest of the class, CeeDee Lamb came on and has played lights out as a rookie. You look at James Robinson, you know, he's played well as a running back in Jacksonville. Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, even though the team hasn't done well, he's played well. But Justin Herbert has played at the highest level of any rookie coming into where we are right now. So I do look at him as a lock for the Offensive Rookie of the Year. But with that being said, as well as I've seen him do, when I've looked at both of these quarterbacks, Justin Herbert plays with a little bit more perceived maturity than what I see in Joe Burrow. But that's not to say that
he's got a little more talent around him.
Yeah, he's got a little. Yeah. That's not to say that when I look at Joe Burrow, if he can, all things given, health-wise, if he can come back and be as healthy as he was or stronger, I still think that the skill set and the talent level that I saw play out with him this season really gives me pause to actually say definitively that Justin Herbert is going to have the better career for two reasons, and two reasons alone. One, I don't know that I fully trust what's going on with the LA Chargers, for one.
That makes sense.
All right. Two, when I look at the Bengals, I think to myself, there may be the possibilities that what they're building there will be more time for that scenario to play out in Cincinnati rather than in a major market like LA for the Chargers. I don't know how much that can disrupt Justin Herbert, but you and I both know coaching changes disrupt. If Lynn loses his job, here comes someone new. How does that work? How's the chemistry? Does it work? This young man, young phase, stage of his career, every single thing matters. I had 4 head coaches 3 years into my career when I first came into the NFL.
Tough.
It is very difficult to deal with coaching changes, and that could be the very reason why we see Joe Burrow be able to leapfrog and get ahead of Justin Herbert in the future.
I think we'll be talking about both of these quarterbacks for a long time into their careers. However, with a healthy Joe Burrow, give me Joe Burrow any day of the week. I just like everything that he brings, his moxie, his leadership, his approach to the game, his arrogance, that arrogance that you talked about earlier, LeVar, when we talk about the Green Bay Packers. Joe Burrow carries a lot of that. His ability to just get guys to buy in and believe in him. You think about just his stance, even with the social justice and injustices that were going on, and his ability to just have that assertiveness and that comfort to just speak out and galvanize that team without having met so many of those players. They love this guy in Cincinnati, and I just think that if he can stay healthy, the ceiling for him is so high. And I'm not saying it's not for Justin Herbert. I think he's a tremendous quarterback, and he will win the Offensive Rookie of the Year this year, and he's deserving of it. And I think he's going to have a fantastic career. But Joe Burrow, you alluded to something in Cincinnati. They're not as far off as people think.
Not.
Like, personnel-wise, they have players. They have guys that they're trying to surround him with. They're going to protect him up front, hopefully, in this draft. But you look at T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, you have an elder statesman in A.J. Green that may be on the way out. We'll see. But they have pieces around him at the running back position, at the receiver position. I like their head coach, young-minded guy who understands what he has in Joe Burrow, and will allow him to flourish, will put him in positions of success. That's what we saw before the injury. When we look at both of these guys, 9-10 games into the season, they were neck and neck. I mean, and some would say Joe Burrow was doing more with less because he was in Cincinnati, a dumpster fire, if you will, where quarterbacks go to die. And he's done so much positive to where we believe this team is going to have so much life because of his ability. I just like all that he brings, his ability to get out the pocket, his accuracy, his down the field accuracy. He's a special, special talent. They both are, but give me Joe Burrow long term.
You know, that's what scares me about the Cincinnati Bengals organization. You know, you're talking about you got the first-round pick in Joe Burrow, and can you build around him? You know, they had Andy Dalton for several years who showed promise, and I felt like the team was on the cusp of greatness. They was competing. They was competing with the Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, but just couldn't get over the hump, and then things just took a turn for the worse. So most important, like we all just said, it's about building around Joe Burrow. Unfortunately for him, he's going to have some time off.
After Tua was 17 of 22 for only 94 yards against the Raiders. Fitzpatrick didn't disappoint, going 9 of 13 for 182 yards and a touchdown. And he set up Miami for the game-winning field goal. But yesterday, Fitzpatrick tested positive for COVID-19 and will miss their game Sunday. But before that, Brian Flores has already said that despite the benching, Tua was going to start Week 17. So, LeVar, do you think the Dolphins are sold on Tua as their quarterback long term?
Of course they're sold on Tua as their quarterback. But here's the thing. The reason why we're having this conversation